How much should advice cost? I think that's the million-dollar question. And I think it varies from business to business. It depends on what level of complexity you're after, what type of service you're after. But as an indicator then, most financial advisors get paid in two ways. There tends to be initial fees, that's your setup, that's taking you on as a new client, maybe give you a recommendation report, maybe making some suggestions and some recommendations. That's the upfront cost of putting you from where you are now to the position that you want to be in the future. So yeah, that typically sits in the initial fee bucket. Now, typically, that could be by two ways. It could be a fixed fee, so there could be a £2,000 investment charge there for doing a recommendation report, or it could be a percentage of the funds that you're looking to invest. So, for example, if you're looking to invest £100,000, they might charge 3% to invest that capital. How much should it cost? Well, I think locally and as an indicator, I think around 2% is fair value for the initial fee, but it is dependent on the level of complexity and the level of service that you're getting. But again, it's worth shopping around to justify whether it's an expensive charge or inexpensive charge. But I think 2%-ish would be a fair premium. I think as soon as you go beyond the 3, 4, and certainly the 5%, you've got to ask yourself, what are you getting for 5%? You know, for every £100,000 you're investing, that's £5,000 that's going in initial fees. That seems expensive to me, but again, you know, you're the judge as the client, but it's worth assessing that. So then if we look at the ongoing fees then, so again, ongoing fees could be a fixed fee. It could be based on an hourly rate, a number of services that you want, or again, it could be on a percentage charge. And again, as an indicator, I would say anything between 0.5% and 1% would be fair value, again, depending on the level of service you're getting. Beyond the 1%, I think that is expensive, if I'm being honest. But again, you've got to be the judge based on your circumstances. And I think outside of those initial and ongoing charges, one thing I'm really passionate about and one thing I hate to see is exit penalties. I think you as the consumer and the client should have the flexibility to move your money whenever you want without having to pay exit fees. And again, sadly, there's national wealth managers out there that charge exit penalties for the first 5 or 6 years. Now, what if they're no longer meeting your objectives? What if they are no longer delivering you value for money? You're forced to stay with them because you don't want to pay 2, 3, 4, 5% in exit penalties. So again, as a consumer, I would say try and avoid that because you always want to have flexibility. You know, we talk about liquidity all the time in financial services and making sure you've always got assets that can be moved around. And I think that's a good example where you could be putting yourself in a position that you're forced to stay in. And unfortunately, I've got clients that are on a waiting list almost because, you know, I can't justify them paying 3 or 4% when they've just got to wait another 12 months to be able to move their assets. So that's a key thing when you're looking at charges, is don't just ask about the initial fee, don't just ask about any ongoing charges, ask about any penalties to move earlier on as well if you no longer want to deal with them. And last point on the ongoing fee, it's not compulsory. You might not need ongoing financial advice. You might not need someone to review your assets all the time. Certainly if you've got a pension pot that you're looking to spend over the next 3 or 4 years, do you really need ongoing financial advice when that money is getting drained? So again, ask yourself if you need ongoing charges on your investment plan, and certainly make sure that it's value for you when it comes to your circumstances. So charges, it's quite an emotional thing. It's quite a personal thing. Look at the service, look at what you're getting, but make sure it is fair value.
So I think COVID-19 was actually a really good litmus test for the value you're receiving from your advisor. I know from our experience that we were really passionate about contacting our clients and making sure that they're okay, because pensions and investments did take a real hit. It's part of the service you should expect to receive. If you're not receiving that peace of mind from your advisor that your pensions and your investments have been taken care of, then what are you paying for?